We are back with another episode of the Hoopers Almanac, and for the first time in what feels like a long time, Adam and I are back together. We've had the rotating cast of Austin, his brother, of Carl Baltimore helping out and recording with us, and we have just been missing him. But we've been blessed this past weekend with craziness in the NBA with the Charlotte Hornets, who are basically going to be the only topic of conversation today, the main topic of conversation today. So we're going to get into that. Whether it be a LaMelo trade, a Miles Bridges trade. I am very interested to hear Adam's thoughts, as well as we'll probably whip back and hear some Giannis and Julius Randle trade thoughts as well, since we didn't get those from him. But before we get going, here are our friends from Green Top. Adam, it's been 3 podcasts since we've recorded together, and we've had a lot happen. The NBA draft happened. There was a massive trade for Giannis and to go to Miami. And what happened this past 96 hours, the Charlotte Hornets decided to say, hey, we're going to change everything about our franchise. Our 2 of our longest tenured players in LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges are no longer going to be on our team. And they're going to be heading to Minnesota and Phoenix respectively. And I first want to start here. Let's start with, we're going to, like I said, it's going to be Charlotte centric tonight. Do you think Charlotte has made the right decision immediately trading away Bridges and Ball?
Bridges, yes. Ball, we'll see. I think that's just so much offense that they have to kind of recover. That a huge reason why they had that resurgence in the back half of last year was the offense, right? The offense just turned into like this basically unstoppable force down the stretch with Brandon Miller coming into his own, Knippel obviously having an amazing rookie year, and LaMelo being the engine of that. So it's like when you remove that engine, it's like, do you have the kind of parts, the car parts to replace that engine? And on the roster right now, I don't really see that. I don't think they'll take a massive step back as a team, because they can kind of fit together, some things, on the defensive side, because LaMelo, that's not his strong suit. It's like, I'm not really worried about that, but he's just this very odd player that's hard to guard, plays at pace, great at hit-ahead passes. Like, that just is hard to replace. Like, he kind of brings a lot of intangibles that are hard to replace. Now, he also brings a lot of, let's call it boneheaded plays that are, will hopefully be easier to replace. But I'm in the kind of camp of like LaMelo actually, like, as a player, like not as like a popular NBA figure, but as the actual player is kind of underrated. I think that people think of like the celebrity of LaMelo, and that's like, he's like massively overrated in that sense, but like he's more popular than he is good, if that makes sense. But I do think like that gets so much shine that people forget how good he actually can be at times. So I don't know. We will see. Bridges, it did seem like that was kind of, that had kind of run its course. And obviously, once you get Naz Reid in the trade for LaMelo, it makes even more sense to move on from Bridges. But we will see. I maybe it's like a year where they take a step back and then eventually kind of, retool around Miller and Knippel. But I don't know. What do you think?
I came to the realization that I think you're right, that it was addition by subtraction kind of situation. You are definitely, like you said, you're losing the offensive playmaking that he provides. While it may be unorthodox, it worked, especially in the back. Yeah. It was special. It is just in the amount of work he did to provide great looks for teammates, whether it be Khan, whether it be Miller. And don't get me wrong, Knippel and Brandon Miller were both great at creating their own shots, but a lot of it also came on the fact that LaMelo was kind of the focal point of the offense whenever he was out there. And so I think, like you said, you're going to miss that offense. While we're not replacing the boneheaded plays, we're just removing said boneheaded plays, I think is the right way to put it. And I think the fact that we're removing those is great. The biggest concern, and I think if anyone's going to figure out, it's Charles Lee, what's who will be the engine that stirs the drink, I guess, so the spoon that stirs the drink here for this offense. Like whenever it gets stuck, who's going to be the guy who can be like, hey, I'll just take the ball and shoot? Because it looked like Miller a little bit in times last year, it looked like he took that step. And maybe that's what they're relying on is like Brandon Miller's going to take this next step forward. Kobe White maybe becomes a little bit more of a offensive playmaker rather than just a consistent shooter. Who knows? We'd like to see Kobe White stay healthy for a full season too, if that could be possible. But I, from the Charlotte perspective, I think the ball trade made sense because we saw it felt like that also felt like right in the wall with like some of the discourse between him and Charles Lee throughout the year, and then we also just saw him play in like both of those playing games, minus like the last 4 minutes of the first playing game where he was spectacular of the regulation and but everything leading up to that brutal, and then the Magic game was just awful. And so the fact that that's the last thing on like that's the last game he's going to be playing in a Hornets jersey as of right now. Maybe he goes back later. As of right now, that's the last game in Hornets minds is that's who your star was. Brutal. I think Bridges in Phoenix. We'll get to the Phoenix perspective later. Makes sense, but like you said, I think that's also been a long time coming. The fact, did you know how many seasons do you think Miles Bridges has averaged 20 points a game? He's played 7 years.
Ooh, I mean, they didn't have much scoring, so somebody had to shoot. So he probably averaged it more than you would think. I'll say 4. I'll say 4 years.
It was 3, but like and last year was 17, and it helps that Knipple and Miller were there to help with the scoring load a little bit. You're absolutely right. In 22, he averaged 20 a game, and then he sat out all of 22, 23, and then 24.
Sat out.
Thank you, Basketball Reference, for that one. 23, 24, and then 24, 25 were both over 20 points a game. It's been a different shift in like thought. I mean, what people think of Bridges. He's been a high flying athletic guy for this Hornets team. I worry for Eric Collins and just his mojo that he's going to have when his 2 favorite players are probably gone that he liked to scream about. But now he can yell Nas Reed's name. I think that should be the biggest thing you think about.
Yeah, they won't be as spectacular. Their highlights. That's certainly true. But I mean, Nas is a great pickup. That's a like slot him right in, perfect. Like he replaces Bridges, and that's a great fit. He can shoot it. That's actually like I love that. But yeah, they've just got a massive hole at the kind of lead guard playmaking spot now. Maybe they have more confidence in Miller and Khan to bridge that gap. We'll see. But I would love for them to continue this run that they had. Like it's fun when the Hornets are good, and it's like you don't want to see a team be bad for like 20 years in a row. It's like it is nice when there's a little bit of an ebb and flow to some of these franchises. So they were really fun to watch, and I don't necessarily think they will be as fun to watch, for better or worse next year, but they could be better. You never know.
Listen, the Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, he's not playing. But Grayson Allen, just as another shooter for them. Like that's all they have now is they have shooters. Yeah. And O'Neal and Allen are hard-nosed defensive guys, so they'll mold in well there. And I think that's the biggest key for them too. I think for Charlotte, that was like removing Ball from the situation, which he got better defensively this past year. It had been abysmal in years past. This year was a little bit better. But do you think he passed the Quinn Cook test, LaMelo Ball?
Yeah, because he's 6'7". I mean, that's
Michael Porter Jr. 6'10". He ain't passing the Quinn Cook test.
That's true. I mean, yeah, he does have quick hands, quick feet. That's tough. But man, he does have some bad defensive stretches. That's a tough one. That's actually a tough one. I'm not sure where I would land on that.
Okay. I think I'm with you though. Charlotte was very fun last year to watch, and it's going to be weird just to see, because like, what do you think their starting lineup is now? Is it just Kobe White, Khan, Brandon Miller, Nas, and Moose Diabate?
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah,
I think, you know what? Honestly, that's just 4 shooters, and Diabate is just going to rebound everything. So maybe it kind of works out that way. Undersized big, but yeah, I'm very interested. Maybe they have a lot of faith in Christian Anderson, this rookie they just drafted to be their playmaker, but who the heck knows? I'm sure you've done your research on the Texas Tech boy.
I have not. I have not. I'll watch him when he gets to the league. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of faith to put in a rookie. That's very rare that those guys are
But
good
yeah,
generators of offense as rookies. But we'll see. We will see. Yeah, I mean, like again, they're going to be fun to watch. It's going to be different. But I am excited to kind of see how the pieces all fit. I mean, the Phoenix side of it, like it's a weird
yeah,
trade for Phoenix. Like I don't really. It's just like what? Like they're just in this kind of. I don't know. Like that was a feel good story, right? Get the set, or actually got the 8 seed in the end, right? Because the play in. But I don't really like that team, and I could see them being the one that kind of falls out as like a Utah and like some of these other teams rise up. Um, even a Dallas, like if everybody's back and healthy and they're rolling, like yeah, I don't really understand it from the Phoenix side. Do you?
I kind of love it.
Really?
So here's my thing. I think Royce O'Neal seems like a good guy. Hasn't been the same since Brooklyn days. Like honestly, like since he was part of the trade to go to Phoenix, I just don't think he has been that great. And I think Grayson Allen has moments where you're like, oh, this guy can light it up. That being said, they needed a forward and like a sizable forward to actually rebound. Royce O'Neal does not rebound. Miles Bridges does. At least in the games where he like in the years where he's like had the opportunity to be a rebounder, he's averaged like 7 rebounds a game. This past year was a little different with like Diabate kind of taking a step up in the rebounding game as well as Miller and Khan. Khan ridiculous rebounding numbers for a rookie at his
Yeah.
size too.
Well,
But
and even Kalkbrenner too, right? It would have gobbled some of those
correct.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think Bridges provides an option that isn't a guard for the Phoenix. That they have that's a team that has a surplus of undersized wings.
That's true. Yeah.
They needed a bigger guy, and not that he's massive. He's 6'7", but he's bulky, and I think he is a starting forward in the NBA that can be a difference maker. Because O'Neal was starting at 4 right now for them, anyways. Bridges is better than O'Neal.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
and it's like Allen and O'Neal together kind of makes sense in my head as like a 2-for-1 kind of option for any team. I think, like you said, Charlotte was just trying to get off of Bridges and like get him out of the house at that point because I think him and Ball had a connection. But I think Bridges going to Phoenix makes so much sense because there was an absolute hole that they were missing, and it's a forward that they just hadn't had on their roster. No offense to Jordan Goodwin, he's not a forward. He's just they play 3 guards in their starting lineup, and then it was Royce O'Neal who's 6'4", 6'5". I mean, it's just an undersized lineup already, and their center's already undersized.
Well, and once they re-up Goodwin, it made sense to be like, okay, we'll move on from the other two, because like
Yes.
he'll kind of fill that role. So that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we'll see. I mean, as a talent play, I guess, yeah, and a positional need, it does make sense. But it's a decent number, salary number for him, and yeah, it's just kind of like they just feel like they're kind of treading water. Which maybe they just need that for a couple of years after some tumultuous times, with the rotating cast of coaches, and then obviously the KD era ended a little poorly. So yeah, I guess maybe that is this like hey, let's hold here for a little bit for a couple of years.
Well, do you know how much Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal cost? Because that's what's going to make you laugh.
Well, no, I know Grayson's a lot.
Well, O'Neal is $9 million a year. No offense to Royce O'Neal, that guy's a vet min if I've ever seen one. And then Grayson Allen is $15 a year.
Yeah, and what is this is Royce's last year on it?
I believe so. Because that's the other thing too. Allen's got 1 more year and then a player option on it. So for 2027-28, he's got a player option. And then O'Neal, let me pull it back up here. O'Neal's actually got, oh my God, it actually goes up to 11.5 in 27-28. So wow, he's got 2 more years on it too. So yeah, he got the extension from Phoenix. What was that? Oh, I didn't realize he got traded to Phoenix that late. Why did I think he was whatever? And also I was wrong. He probably hasn't been that great since Utah. Like no offense to his Brooklyn days, but they weren't like that great either. It felt like just Utah was like his like stand-up moments. But good for Phoenix to fill a need in my mind. To Minnesota, which we've just buried the lead here because they've done
that's the biggest one here. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. They've done some moves. Whether it's moving on from Julius Randle for for a
Not
later
only no
draft
one,
pick.
they had to give up 5 draft slots to they had to move back 5 spots to
Correct.
get off of it. Yes, crazy.
Crazy to me, but whatever. That was the whole that whatever. And then they replaced that contract with LaMelo Ball, which thankfully they didn't take on the $40 million trade exception, which those never get used. So I'm glad they were able to fill that role. Then they bring in Io. They re-sign Io.
Right. Good.
Great.
Yeah.
I think that's great. But now we have another team with a glaring hole at power forward. And it's just let's talk about the fit, of course, between their two star players now of LaMelo Ball and Ant, which you and I have discussed separately from our chat, our group chat that we're in. And I have talked about it with our Timberwolves guy, Andrew Carlson, but I want to hear your thoughts on the fit of Ball and Edwards together. Because personally, I think it's going to work out just fine. And I have some other thoughts behind it, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
No, I do too. I actually, the more I thought about it, the more I like it. And I think it's just like a swing for Minnesota. It's like, all right, look, we got these two juggernauts in the West. Like, both of those teams are loaded with ball handling options and shot creators and things like that. It's like, ours is like, man, Ant, save us. Like, it's just like, there's just so much on his plate. And he said it, he's crossing half court and he's getting double, triple teamed, in these San Antonio series. It's like, there's not a secondary creator. I mean, Dante getting hurt was big, obviously.
Yeah.
But I actually like it quite a bit as just hey, let's reshuffle the deck. Let's move McDaniels up to the 4. He's super rangy. He can guard all types of positions anyway. He improved a ton. So it's like, that's our third option scoring wise anyway. And then Io clearly showed like he could bring it in the playoff series. So I don't know. I don't mind it. Like, I actually like where they've landed. And if they start McDaniels at the 4, then I don't know. That makes some sense to me. And maybe LaMelo in a system like that where it's like you just got to defend more. Like he will buy in a little bit defensively. He's a downgrade probably from some of the guys they've had in the past, but I don't think it'll be like a complete disaster. And offensively, I think it could really open up a bunch of things for Minnesota. The lob threat that he's got with Rudy now because he's such a good lob passer. Like I actually really like the swing. Does it put him in the class with OKC and San Antonio? Probably not. But I do think they're better equipped to handle those teams today than they were a week ago.
So I totally agree with you that they now have just surrounded Ant with multiple ball handlers with Io and LaMelo. That's great. And I think, one of the things that I always try to look for is how did the guy who got traded mid-season to a new team, to a playoff team, so Io, how does he perform in the playoffs? And he stepped up. We saw that multitude of times. Real quick, I think he has a potential to be the next Derek White, and that's going to bother the crap out of me. But it's going to bother our friend Aaron Carter, who
sure will.
Man, would be great if he would have stayed a Bull, but whatever. I just think he's potentially another Derek White in another 2 years here. My point, though, Adam, when do you think Gobert was at his best at offense in his career?
Like which team or like what year or what?
Well, like do you have a year? What did he need to be as successful on offense?
He needed Mike Conley.
He needed Mike Conley or Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, true. Ricky, yeah.
Ricky Rubio in Utah. And I texted Carlson this. I'm like, I want to go back and watch Ricky Rubio, Rudy Gobert, like pick and rolls. And that's when you saw Gobert's offense go from 9 points a game to 14 points a game. Because Ricky Rubio was like around him.
Feeding him. Yes. Yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
You have an actual playmaker. You have an actual guy to pass you the ball. No offense to Mike Conley. He's a great floor general. He is not how do I put this correctly? And maybe you can help me out here. I didn't think at the time when he was joining Minnesota, he definitely wasn't Memphis Mike Conley, but he was not the great facilitator Mike Conley at that point when he was joining Minnesota. I think he was like 2 years past that at that point.
That's fair.
But Gobert's best years is when he had a good facilitator. Conley, Ricky Rubio, and now LaMelo Ball. I think you're absolutely right. This opens up the Minnesota offense to another level, and it gets the ball out of Ant's hands, which I think they desperately needed, because I think Ant is a great catch and shoot shooter. And he has shown that so many times. John Krasinski, not the actor, the Minnesota beat writer, has been on multiple podcasts over the past week, and he's talked about it on Lowe, on Simmons, and he said, honestly, I think the thing that's going to make him the best is the fact that he's going to be able just to catch and shoot, not have to dribble into it all the time. And I totally agree. The amount of effort that Ant was having to put on his body, just taking the ball up the court all the time, getting hounded at half court, like we talked about, getting doubled, just having the second option of another guy who can at least go create and drive. McDaniels tried to be that for him this past year, but LaMelo Ball is just a different animal when it comes to that. And I think that's going to be the biggest shift. Crazy that we're having the first and third pick from the 2020 draft playing together now.
We should sign Wiseman.
Don't think that's going to happen.
1, 2, 3 in the same draft.
Good Lord. That being said, there is now the hole at 4. Now they could go small. They could go small with and this could be their version of a depth lineup with LaMelo, Ayo, and McDaniels, Gobert. But I still think they need the rebound, the size and rebounding
on the roster somewhere. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I have 4 options.
Is that Berenger? Well, is that Berenger? Do they just play him a lot more?
Yeah, but that's just a backup center. That's just a backup center at that point. My thing is, Adam, I've got 4 guys who I think they could give the full mid-level exception to and be like, hey, you're going to be joining a team that's got a real shot here in the West. And if you join us, you make us a real contender. If Rui Hachimura decided he wanted to leave LA...
Yeah, that's got to be number 1. Got to be number 1 because that's number 1 on my Spurs list.
Well, I think he's number 3 on mine for the Wolves, honestly. And number 4 is John Collins. John Collins, I think, is just like throw the fishing line to the ocean. You're like, hey, please catch this if we're sinking here. John Collins, come to the rescue. I had Rui Hachimura was one that I was like, man, this would be awesome if they could just bring him in. And then John Collins, yes. And then I was like, man, you know what? A guy who just was like the second option on a really good team last year, and he probably is at best the third option on a really good team. Could Tobias Harris just take a little cut and be like, hey, I will come play in the Western Conference once again, where I was really good in LA. And could I just, be your power forward? Because I think I'm not sure what the Pistons are effing doing with their money because they're about to they underwhelmed Duran with their offer for him. And I'm worried that Tobias Harris isn't coming back there. And my thought is, honestly, if Tobias Harris could end up in Minnesota, I think that is a better option than Rui. Just because there's a little bit more of a veteran presence and it's like, hey, I've been in the playoffs, grinded out a little bit more, and I've been in big moments more than Rui has.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, Rui's obviously younger, but this is not a guy you're signing for like a 5-year deal, long-term deal. Like that's just not happening, right? So this is just kind of like, hey, let's fill this gap for a couple of years. Yeah, I mean, I like all this. I mean, yeah. And that's the thing that's nice is like this obviously opened up the ability to do that, trading some of these high-dollar players that they had, in Randall and Nas. So they don't, it's not like they have just no way to get better anymore. Which it did seem like they felt a bit stuck prior to these trades where it's like, man, like with the money and just like the types of players we have, like how are we really going to do this? So in my mind, they have an idea because I don't think you do the Randall trade where you're essentially giving away unless you have a backup plan in mind. So I'll be curious to see, how they decide to fill that. But there are some options. It's a weak free agent class, but for that position, there actually are some options.
Can I say the final one is Obi Toppin?
Oh, yeah.
But then again, you're taking a wild risk on a guy who can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
It just feels like he's consistently between 50 and 60 games a year, and that's it. You can't get more out of him at that point. I've been trying to think if because there's no other trade piece that they're like, we could maybe move this guy. It would have to be a free agent. And I'm like, so those are the 4 guys. I'm like, okay, if they could just pull the trigger on one of those 4, John Collins being the last resort, I think is a solid option. But I do think that there is some interesting thoughts on if they can make this, if they can get a good power forward here, they've solidified themselves in my mind to be a top 4 team in the West.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like that third spot in the West is open to me. It's like I think we have a clear top two, and it's like who's going to grab that third spot, and they've probably got the inside track now.
I agree. Anything else about any of the trades? Well, actually, let's do Giannis thoughts real
Yeah, I
quick.
would say I do have a couple Giannis thoughts. I'm so glad it happened. Finally, we can just
Fucking
stop.
finally,
Like
Jesus
just
Christ!
yeah, like by the time it actually happened, I was like underwhelmed. I'm just like, yeah, all this build up for this trade, like this feels like that was there at any point in the last year.
Right,
But here we are. We
and honestly,
finally,
better offer for Milwaukee probably at
yeah,
some point.
yeah. So I'm so glad it's over and we don't have to like worry about it. And Milwaukee doesn't have to put through this ridiculous situation anymore. Look, you don't get there's no high level kind of guy or pick that they got back that you're like, oh wow, like that's just that's an absolute gem of a piece that we can kind of use going forward. That's unfortunate, if you're Milwaukee, but they at least like picked a bit of a direction, which I like. And then for Miami, it's like, I mean, what else were we gonna do? Like there was no other way to kind of grab a player of this level and make another run. While Riley is still at the helm. Is it enough? I don't think so. But I've seen him work some magic before. It's like they've got a lot of work to do still to fill out the rest of the roster. And I even the fit of Bam and Giannis is like a little bit clunky to me. So I don't know. This is just like I really like Giannis, and I always have. And like this is not really how I envisioned the kind of like back 10 years of his career playing out. I am glad he's off the Bucks. No offense, like that's not like a offensive Bucks fan. That's an amazing 13 years. I said that to you guys in my group text. Like incredible 13-year run. He needs a statue outside. Like it's been ridiculous. I mean, he's when you combine it over for a longevity standpoint, it's the best player in franchise history. So Kareem is probably the best overall player, but he only played there for 6 years. So yeah, I think awesome. What a historic run, but. Yeah, this is just maybe not exactly like I actually would have preferred him to go to your team. Like I think that would have been more interesting. I'm just as like a neutral basketball fan, but I don't know. Miami, we'll see. I mean, I just hope he plays. I just hope he plays the whole year. That's like I'd love to see Giannis play a full season and be in the playoffs again.
I'd love to see Giannis play 70 games. Just give me 70 games. I agree with you. I think Bam learning to spread the floor and be a better shooter last year opened up the real idea that this could happen. Now, can they bring back Powell? Will Wiggins accept his player option? Probably. You're right. The thing now is just the depth around them, and we kind of talked about it last week. But I have worries about because I think the best Giannis teams are the ones that have shooting surrounding him. We saw that with the 21 team, and if they have a bona fide wing scorer, Chris Middleton was that next to him, that's the best thing. And if Norman Powell showed that he's a phenomenal scorer over the past few years, and last year he showed up, can he do that now with the ball less in his hands? And it's going to be a little bit more catch and shoot. I am very interested to see how that works out. Do they need a actual point guard? Like, do they need an actual facilitator? Or is it Davion Mitchell? No offense to Davion Mitchell, who's also had a great year last year. But I'm interested. But the other thing I will just say is I think Giannis fits what Miami's offense was last year. They want a guy they want to have a team that spreads the floor and just drive and kick. Drive and kick. And Giannis is the best guy at driving and kicking. And like there is very few players that do it better than him as aggressively as he does. And I think that's the mold that the Miami's offense was built around last year. And they're like, I think that was the testing ground to see, hey, can this actually work? So very interested to see. The other thing is this. Hero clearly has been on the outs. It felt like for the past year, they were trying to get rid of him for everyone, it felt like. And actually for the past few years, like whether it be Dame, whether it be Giannis, whether it be any star, Hero was the guy that was thrown in those trades. And so I'm like, feels like the right time to move on from him. They just didn't give up. The other thing is they just didn't give up any shooting in my mind. I mean, no offense to Jaquez, he's not a shooter. Yakashonis is just there. Khalil Ware is probably the best shooter that they gave up, and he's a center, and he was solid, but Spoelstra didn't love his defensive lapses. So you're like, okay, we'll take whatever edge side of the sword here. So I think that's the thing. If they can find shooting to surround him, I am literally looking at spot track right now to see what guards are available, and I don't think they want to bring Gary Trent back into Giannis's life, and I don't think Giannis wants that at all. So I am very curious to see what guys they go out and grab. Like, is Kevin Herter going to take a cheaper deal? Is Duncan Robinson available? Very interested to see what they end up doing.
Yeah, no, they need shooting. I mean, it's it's a team that, like, you look at it on paper, and then there's some people who kind of like, oh man, here we go, like Giannis on the Heat, like, yeah, back to the their top 4 team. I just don't see that. I mean, there's just a lot more work to be done before I kind of pencil them into that upper echelon of West teams. I mean, yeah, I just don't see. I mean, do you? To me, they're like the 5th or 6th seed, like, in my mind, right now, as they're constructed right now.
We were talked about last week. I think they're fighting with the Hawks for the 7th seed again. They're still fighting for the play-in. I don't, as currently constructed, no, I don't think they're firmly in the playoffs. Because I would put New York, Boston,
Detroit,
Cleveland as currently constructed. Detroit, probably. I don't know. Detroit's all a hodgepodge right now.
Yeah, who knows with Detroit, man? Yeah.
And Orlando. I probably would put Orlando ahead of them. I have faith that your guy Swain's gonna change the future over there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Anything else? Any other trades? I mean, we have so much going on this coming week. We have the free agency starts this Tuesday. Adam, I was wrong. Free agency starts on Tuesday. I thought it was 4th of July. I always think it's 4th of July just because I thought it was the I always think of just the Kevin Durant year, and I immediately just think every year it's on 4th of July.
Yeah. Just because he announced it on 4th of July. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. It always just brings it back to that.
My next chapter.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be this week. I wish I had the ability to record this week. I'll be back in St. Louis, but we'll see. Maybe I know Mike and just AirPod.
The NBA is going to look different a week from today than it does right now.
Yeah. We'll come back next Monday and we'll be recording and we'll have some thoughts. But
yeah. No, I mean, some of the names that are rumored to be kind of on the move, it's like these are big. These are big names that, like, could swing, not necessarily the title because those teams at the top are so good, and unless it involves one of those teams. But yeah, some big people could be on the move in the next week or so. So I'm interested to see. This is a fun little period. I do like some of the free agency and kind of the transactions coming in. I'm not a huge transaction guy, kind of throughout the year, but this little period it is fun. So I think a week from today the league definitely will look different.
Well. We thought there was a chance Hartenstein gets moved this offseason, and the Thunder are like, no, we're extending him. What are you talking about?
Locked him up. Yep.
Yeah, locked him up for the next few years. And then I'm very curious to see what San Antonio does if they move Fox. I doubt they do.
No, they're not going to.
Yeah. New York, they're not moving anybody. My Celtics are just going to lose their mind, I feel like, and I've said I'm now, the panic button is on my desk, awaiting to be pressed by me at some point if a Jaylen Brown trade does happen. Kawhi Leonard also apparently is just on the move, but we are thinking tinfoil hats are on, and we're like punishment coming for the Clippers. We'll see. And then no one wants LeBron. I mean, that's the other thing too.
But so I thought that too. But then Zach Lowe threw that in like very late on like what I think his last podcast where he's like there actually have been some suitors for LeBron, and he kind of just like left it there. And I was like, who is that? Like, I wonder like who are we talking about? Because it does seem like where is he going to go? I mean maybe it's down here. I mean that would be amazing. I wouldn't mind that at all. But that's going to be it's like I was just about to say LeBron James might move, so it's like, that's a huge deal. Like every time he moves, that is a massive deal. So. Do you realize he has moved teams in a World Cup year? This would be 4 times if he moves this year. In 2010, 2014, 2018, 2026. That is, if he moves this summer. That would be him moving teams during a World Cup 4 times in his career. That's kind of crazy.
Whatever, man. I mean, good for him. He knows how to try to break. He knows how to just break the NBA into the world media, sports media, whenever he switches teams, even to break up the World Cup media. He's like, let me get my name out there real quick.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, did you see the podcast he did with Nash and then Marshala Ali?
I watched the whole thing. It was very interesting.
Yes. Knowing Ali was a hooper makes my heart happy. I don't know why, but that makes me very happy. Okay. Thanks everyone for listening. letting you know, mid-July, Adam and I, we've talked about it a few times, and it's after free agency happens. Anatomy of a Superstar is coming this summer. Part 1 of 2 summers. We're doing it. We did the past 2 summers Anatomy of Franchise. Part 1, season 1 of Anatomy of a Superstar starts this summer, mid-July. We're literally recording the first episode tonight with our buddy Carl. We will let you guys know the player as we get closer to. But super excited. Adam and I are going to do an intro pod to kind of explain it a little bit more as we get closer to. But Adam, I'm super stoked about this.
So am I. We've already done the research. We've already done the research for the first guy. We're recording it tonight. You said very excited. It's a big one. The first one is a big one.
They're all big.
They're all big. I mean, yeah. So I'll give a very broad. We'll do an intro, but like very broadly, we've taken our collective, our Hooper's Almanac top 50, and we are doing an episode about all top 50. It's not going to be in order of our top 50 because we have it in tiers. We don't have it in a specific order.
So clarifying that real quick. The first guy is not our number 1 player.
No. Yes, it is not. But it is a very good player. So yeah, I mean, yeah, so it's our top 50. So everybody's going to be great. And obviously there's we have some older guys. There's not going to be, as much video for some of the other ones, but we will have an episode dedicated to all 50 of our top 50. So 25 this summer, 25 next summer. Yeah, very, very excited. And yeah, we will release very soon who that number 1, not that number 1 guy is. The first episode is.
Perfect. We're excited, my man. All right. Thanks everyone for listening. Go Celtics. Go Spurs. Go Hornets. Honestly, just go crazy. Shout out Paul and Lily Reynolds, who are big Hornets fans. Well, Lily Reynolds is a big LaMelo Ball fan, so I don't know where she lands right now. But shout out to those guys because they could not stop texting me this past week. And Kara Reynolds, St. Louis's own, all becoming Hornets fans apparently because of LaMelo Ball. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your week, y'all.